Hi, in this lesson, we will learn function in SQL, using function in SQL. So now let's learn what is user-defined functions. So user-defined function, it extends the power of our SQL language, by defining new functionalities. And also user-defined functions perform some operation and return a value. So in user-defined functions, what happened is we can create our own function and this function will perform the operation and it returns the value to us. So user-defined function should always return a value. Means it should return a value. If there is no value to return, it will return the null value. So user-defined functions are directly called within SQL statement just like traditional functions. Once you create this user-defined function, it can be directly called within the SQL statement. So basically, we can say a function is a block of code that performs a specific task. So let's see some example. So here, problem statement is create a function to extract the two-letter country code specified at the end of the user language. So in the table user, we have user ID, user language, user country, and user city. So in user language, you can see EN-US, EN-UK, EN-IN. So they want to extract US, UK, IN from user language. And they want us to create a new column and name it as a country code. And in that new column, US, UK and IN has to be there. That means in user language, the last two digit has to be there in that country code column. So this is how the output should look like. We should create a new column, country code, and the code of that country from user language has to be taken, like the last two digit has to be taken from user language and should be pasted in this new column, that is country code column. Now let's go to dbfiddle and execute our code. So in order to get the country code from any user language, we don't have any inbuilt function. So in such cases, we have to create our own function. Okay, so let's start. So first, initially, let's look at our user table. For that, what we will do is we will check user table. We'll write the query select star from user. Let's run the code. Yes. So in user table, we have user ID, user language, user country, and user city. So from user language, we have to extract the data. So that will be the input for our function, and output should be the last two words of that user language input. So that will be for the first user ID to be US, second user ID to be UK, and third user ID to be IN. So now let's define a function. We will define a function called country code. Initially, we have to start with delimiter and use $2 symbols. Okay. Next, we will create function and give name for our function, which is country code. Then what I will do here is, so that is the name for our function, which is the country code. So what is the input? What will be the input? Input will be the user language. User language is an input. So I will give language just declare a variable for my input, which is language, and it will declare a data type, which is varchar of 8. Next, this is what we have given as an input. So what does it returns? It returns again output as 2 characters, which is again a varchar of 2. Next, what we will do is we have to tell whether it is deterministic function or non-deterministic function. So here, deterministic function means this type of function returns the same value or result anytime they are called. Even if the input value is given same, the output will also be same every time it is called in deterministic function. But in non-deterministic function, every time the function is called, the output changes, even if the input is same. This is the difference between deterministic and non-deterministic. So here, I want it to be deterministic. So I'll give deterministic. And then let me begin to write my code. So I will begin and I will declare code as an, I'll declare the input variable varchar, which is of 2, and let me set it. So what happens here is in code, what we have to do. So when we get the input, so input here will be user language. So user language, for example, en-us. So first input will be en-us. Okay. So I have used a write keyword. So write keyword extract 2 characters from string starting from right side. So from my input, I want to extract last 2 characters from right side. I want to extract 2 characters from right side. That is the reason I have used a keyword write. And I will give the input which I had declared previously, that was language, comma 2. I have to extract last 2 characters from right side. That is the reason I have given 2. Next, we have to return this code. When I have to end with an end keyword with $2 symbols, then I will be using delimiter. Next, we have created a function. Now we have to call the function. In order to call the function, on the right select star, comma, what is my function name? Country code. So which is the, now here I have to give my input column. So my input column is user language. Okay, user language will be my input column. I've given input column as user language and name it as country code. So this is basically, we are creating a new column. So we need a column name. That will be country code. Country underscore code. From which table? User table. So let's run the code and check. Let's check the output. Yes. So we have successfully retrieved the last 2 characters from user language and created a new column, country code, which has US, UK and IN, which is user language last 2 characters. Now, Let's check the summary. User-defined function extend the power of SQL language by defining new functionalities. User-defined function performs some operation and it returns a value. So it has to return some value. So if there is no value to return, then it will return the null value. So user-defined function are directly called within SQL statement, just like traditional function. Now, let's see function syntax. So initially we have to start with the delimiter, space, a dollar symbol, create function, function name, parameter 1 and the data type of that parameter. We can create n number of parameters. So since in my previous example, I just had to give user language, which was only one input. So I declared one parameter and its data type. Then we have to return the data type. And later we have to tell whether it is deterministic or non-deterministic. Next, we'll begin and our function body, what has to happen, how it has to happen, that will be given in the function body. Then let's return it and give the return value. And end it with the keyword end, space, dollar symbol, and again delimiter. At the end, do not forget to call the function with the name and whichever input column that you have to give will be given while calling the function. So here comes to the end of this video.